It was a whirlwind of emotions to go from stage 4, full-blown cancer everywhere, to being completely healed in a matter of 2.5 months. It was a miracle.
Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Every week, we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions for ideas to enhance your success in all aspects of life. Successful Living with Bill Napick starts right now. Here's Bill Napick.
Welcome to the show. It is Successful Living with Bill Napick. I'm Bill Napick, and today a special edition with Jenna Jackson with P&R Creative. Jenna, you have lined up a show again like last time. Let's tell people what's going to happen today.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. I'm always happy to be here. So today we are going to learn about a really special organization here in Houston called Candlelighters that supports kids with cancer and their whole families. And it's amazing the work that this group does. I've been involved with them for a long time. So I'm really excited to have some people here to talk about it and just raise awareness.
Well, it's so interesting, too. Here in Houston, there are many organizations to help. This is one of them, and it's very exciting. And we hear so much about cancer just in general, and the more you see, read, hear about it, it's almost like there's so many types of cancer. It's scary. Today, let's tell people about Kelsey.
Yes, I have Kelsey Tarpinian. She is amazing. She is Associate Director of Candlelighters. She's going to give us the whole history and how long she's been with the group. But, you know, I am on the board of Candlelighters and have been on the board for several years. I can tell you guys sort of how I got involved through a personal connection years ago. But Kelsey is amazing. She is really, this team is small but mighty. It's one of those. And they raise so much money and raise so much awareness and help so many families here in Houston and beyond, because it's really anyone who comes to Houston for treatment, which, as you know, Bill, we've got the top cancer treatment.
All over the world, people are here.
Flying in from Dubai, from Europe. I mean, it's pretty incredible. So the reach of this, pretty small organization goes really far.
I have an idea. Let's meet Kelsey. Hey, Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bill and Jenna, for having me. Honored to be here today.
Well, let's tell people your role with the organization and a little bit more about it.
Sure. So I am the Associate Director here for Candlelighters. There is really only a team of 10 right now, so we're a pretty small staff. But Bill, like you said, there's so many organizations here in Houston specifically that support childhood cancer families. And really what sets Candlelighters apart is that half of our staff are moms who have fought cancer with their own child. So they know exactly what these families need when they hear the words, "your child has cancer," and they help us provide all of those things that they need. So Candlelighters was founded, it'll be 29 years this September, by families of children with cancer for families of children with cancer. As you know, I'm sure, the two kind of top pediatric oncology programs here in Houston are with Texas Children's and with MD Anderson. And while they have, separate facilities, the parents in these families, they go through the exact same things. So 29 years ago, groups of parents came together and said, here's what we wish we would have had. Let's make it happen. And that's still what we do today, which is really exciting.
And when we think about cancer in general, it's just hearing the word is scary. I don't even like to say it. And anybody that has that diagnosis it's unnerving. However, as we're talking about children, even more so, and like you said, those words, when they are spoken and you receive them as the parent of your child, it has to be unbelievable. Let's tell people how your organization helps the families.
So Candlelighters, pre-COVID, we're going to talk a little bit pre-COVID here. We had our parent consultants, which are our moms on staff that I mentioned, actually office out of the hospitals. So they were there each and every day to meet newly diagnosed families, to talk with parents, to bring toys to the children. And they were just really given unprecedented access to help these families through their everyday cancer journey. And, we still are doing things virtually. We're meeting families outside of the hospital. We're getting referrals from other families that we've helped that now know somebody else who's diagnosed. We're still doing a lot of things. We're actually hoping to get back into the hospitals this summer, which is really exciting. Things are getting back to normal. But really, some of the things that we're known for are obviously the emotional support for parents. Because we have parents on staff, it's the peer-to-peer connection that is just unmatched by any other organization here in Houston. And we have one-on-one consultations, we have group support meetings, really just a little bit of everything in terms of emotional support for the parents. We also provide events for not only parents to connect with each other, but kids. And when we talk about kids, we include the patient and their siblings in every single thing that we do. Oftentimes, the kids are so young when they're diagnosed that it's hardest on the parents and their older siblings because they really understand more of what's going on. They just have the brevity of understanding the seriousness and sometimes, just the sadness and just everything that comes along with cancer. And the really young patients usually are a little bit naive, which can help the parents get through it, that their kids don't really understand exactly what's going on. But we also offer other practical support. We pay for hospital parking, which is $15 a day to park in the Texas Medical Center.
Parking is going crazy everywhere. I was just downtown the other week, and I think it was like $27 in the garage. Anyway, but yeah, that's
it's
just
insane.
A little.
Families can rack up around $5,000 annually just to park for their child's treatment. So that's one thing that that's kind of our biggest budget line item when we look at what we're helping families with practically. We also we help with gas cards, which is another thing that the price is increasing daily.
As we speak. It just went up.
Yep. Grocery cards, we really try and look at all of these out-of-pocket expenses that nobody else is helping with. Insurance isn't helping to cover it. The charitable arms of the hospitals that do help some families cover treatment, low-income families, they're not helping cover these out-of-pocket expenses. So that's a really big priority for Candlelighters here in Houston.
And talk about, you talked a little bit about the sibling support that Candlelighters gives, but also it seems like, if a child is diagnosed, one of the parents, whether they were working or not, generally is at the hospital with their child for the duration of treatment, which can be off and on for years, months, years, right?
Yes.
So how does that affect the family financially, but also the siblings are missing their mom or their dad, or, the focus has to be on that sick child. And how does Candlelighters sort of help fill the gap, I guess?
Absolutely. So 98% of families that receive a childhood cancer diagnosis will experience financial hardship. And a lot of that, you're right, has to do with one of the parents having to quit their job. If they come from a 2-income household, that immediately drops down to 1 because treatment is so intense, especially for the first 1 to 3 years. It's just almost virtually impossible to have 2 working parents unless you have, grandparents or somebody else that has more free time to help out. Not only does that take away financially, but the siblings are often left at home with the other parent. They're missing their sibling, they're missing their mom or dad who's in the hospital with the sibling. It's a very lonely and isolating time, pre-COVID and now during COVID especially. But it's just super important to Candlelighters to, we say that once a child is diagnosed, the whole family is diagnosed. Because it really does affect the entire family. And we want the family to come out of this together. So we really focus on providing experiences and support for the entire family, and not just while they're on treatment. Candlelighters supports families once they're done. They support families of bereaved children. They're once a Candlelighters family, always a Candlelighters family.
How do you connect, or how do the families or people connect with you, those that are in need? How do you identify which families to help?
So we have a really great relationship we're actually now in all 3 pediatric oncology hospitals in the Texas Medical Center. So Texas Children's, MD Anderson, and Children's Memorial Hermann. So our partnerships with hospital staff continue to grow. We receive recommendations from social workers, from nurses, from doctors, and we also receive kind of referrals, or we get, put in touch with newly diagnosed families through some of our families who are either off treatment or are, further along, that have said, hey, this is an organization that has really helped us. We really want to introduce you to them. Due to HIPAA, we have our own registration process, which seems a little tedious sometimes, but it really gives us a full grasp on the child's diagnosis and how long their treatment is going to be and the exact ways that we can help.
We're talking with Kelsey Tarpinian and Jenna Jackson. Kelsey is leading the organization Candlelighters, helping children and families with cancer. And there's people listening that are in this predicament right now. And unfortunately, there are people and families listening that may be at some point. And like you said, those words we never want to hear. However, in life, for all of us, there are certain realities that come upon us. So it's great to have an organization. Kelsey, let's tell people as we move on with as far as the website, and let's get that out there right away.
Sure. Our Candlelighters website is www.candle.org. And that's really kind of the quickest way you can find us. We're also, super active on social media. And so you can find us at Candlelighters Houston on Facebook and Instagram as well.
That's very simple. Candle.org, the website. So people
That's
that are
it.
driving right now, and we know there are thousands on the road at this hour, at least at the time of broadcast, so they don't even have to pull over if they need the website. And maybe their family is not needing help or that, and hopefully not. However, people can still help those that are in need by going to your website,
Absolutely.
Candle.org. Very easy. I'm going to say it again. It's so easy. Candle.org. Jenna, you are on the board. Let's tell people your role with the organization and how did you join forces?
Sure. So I've been on the board for several years now. I've been involved with Candlelighters for several years.
She says several, it's at least 10.
It's been a while.
Time flies.
I know.
It's already June. We're halfway done with this year.
It's insane. It's going so fast. So I had gone to a couple of the Candlelighters luncheons and was really moved and was sort of financially supporting, but from a distance. And then I was 12 years ago, I was in Italy at a friend's wedding, and another girlfriend was with me. And we got a call in the middle of the night that her 6-month-old was diagnosed with leukemia, and she was with me across the world. And so, we scrambled to get her back. First call was the airline to get a flight back to her baby, but my second call was Candlelighters. And I was like, look, I don't know if you even know who I am. I've been to your luncheon a couple of times. I need your help. And they immediately went to her room, started helping. I get emotional. I know, it's amazing. But she said, basically, it was so helpful. There's so much going on as a mom, and you just have no idea what's going on. And all you're thinking is, my child's in danger, and that's the worst feeling in the world. And she said it was so nice to have someone sort of break through all the clutter and just be able to help, because they knew exactly what I was going through because they've been through it, right? So I don't thank God I have not been through that. I went through it with her, and that's the closest I've gotten. But that's why I'm so passionate about this group, because your whole world stops if you hear those words, and none of us ever want to hear them. And unfortunately, cancer, like you said, Bill, is so prevalent. I mean, everyone knows someone who's been diagnosed, I would say.
In our families, we have histories. Some of us have. My mom passed away in her 50s of ovarian cancer. And cancer strikes. Unfortunately, the fortunate thing is that we're here in Houston, top medical care. All around the city, not just in the medical center, but even in the surrounding areas. The Tomball Hospital, by the way, some of these places are just doing tremendous work, and the fact that there are enough people here, we'll call it the 4th largest city. Some are saying soon the 3rd largest, but there are resources and organizations that help. So the blessing is that there are people to help you along the way with this situation. And that's a good thing.
It is a great thing. And, one thing I would love to get Kelsey to talk about while we have her here is there's a lot of struggle and emotional support that the Candlelighters group helps with, but there's also a lot of fun events. And I think it's so important. Candlelighters hosts so many fun events and camp and, partners with many of our professional sports teams here. And it allows these families a little time to be normal and just be kids and have a good time as a family, and something maybe they couldn't afford, wouldn't take time for, all of the above while going through something like this. So tell us a little bit about some of the events. I know there are a ton, but
There are a ton.
It's that's the fun part, right? You get to see these kids smiling and laughing, and the family's happy, and they get a little bit of escape.
It is. So, like you mentioned, some of the ones that come to mind, we have a family camp in the fall. It's called our Camp Cliff. I believe this is our 25th year doing Camp Cliff, but it's a weekend getaway where kids get to be kids, parents get to be parents. We bring doctors and nurses with us to, really oversee and make everybody feel comfortable and safe. But it's a no barrier camp facility. So, if you have a prosthetic because you've lost a limb due to your cancer treatment, you can still rock climb and zip line. It's just a really great weekend to just feel normal and unburdened and light. My favorite part is we make a spa for the parents. My sister is actually a hairdresser, and I talked her into coming for several years. And she just connected with some of these parents and has made lifelong friendships, which has been fun to see. But we do have a wonderful relationship with the Texans, the Astros, the Dynamo. Pretty much anytime they have any leftover tickets, they know that they can call us, and we will get them into the hands of these childhood cancer families who really do just need something fun to go do, whether it's a distraction or, whether mom and patient are in the hospital and dad needs to go take kids out to do something fun, the siblings. There's always an opportunity to go do something fun. Another one of my favorites, because it's, I think, a Houston staple, is our rodeo cook-off day. I'm going to give a shout out to Planet Texas Cook Team because they always have a tent for the barbecue cook-off, and they have hosted, I think the largest one we ever had was 300 family members out for a cook-off day. And they gave them a show. There was live music. Everybody gets a whole barbecue lunch. And then every single kid leaves with one of those carnival packs, which is so fun. And handing those carnival packs to the kids, you just see their face light up. So it's really fun. We try to have events almost monthly for families. And it's great to get back into that routine and see the smiling faces that we get to help.
And on your website, I noticed when I was on the website, there are other activities too. You have them posted right there at candle.org.
We sure do. We have family events, so for our childhood cancer families, and then we also have events just for the general public to come out and help support that the families do get to come to too. So that's a great way to really get engaged and meet some of our families and see our mission in action.
And certainly people could help financially going to the website. Once again, I just like saying it, candle.org.
Thank you, Bill.
There you go. They can help in a financial way, but also in addition or they can also volunteer. Let's tell people a little bit about that for those that are saying, hey, I don't have tons of money, but they say, I have some extra time and I want to help out.
Sure. Well, I want to say just a reminder that even a $15 donation will pay for a family's day of parking. So it doesn't take a lot of money. So if you do want to make a donation, like Bill said, candle.org. But we also have, like I said, our events throughout the year that you can volunteer at. We also always need help at our office because, like I said, we're a small staff. If you just go to our website, you can, there's a whole volunteer section on there and you can send in an inquiry, but there's lots of options. We also, because we're a family organization, we have opportunities for those high schoolers who are needing National Honor Society hours to come volunteer as well. Everything we do is family friendly.
It's one of many great organizations here in Houston, but if you have a heart for kids, it's a good one to support.
And Kelsey, what else should we know?
Oh, goodness. We covered quite a bit.
We did. That's because we're all professionals. And you're doing a tremendous job representing your organization. Again, Candlelighters. People can simply go to candle.org. It's right there. Events, they can see how they can help. There's financial things that people can do and otherwise. So thank you so much for being on the show, and what a worthy cause. I hope you've inspired people, or our conversation has, as they're driving or listening on the internet after the broadcast. because the great thing about Houston, Texas, other cities too, but living here so long, people have a great heart to help in all the various communities, whatever their profession is, and certainly we have great health care here. So hopefully we're inspiring some people to help. They can go to
Candle.org.
That simple, right, Jenna?
Easy. Go today.
Candle.org. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Bill.
At P&R Creative, your story is our motivation. We want to tell your story in a way that resonates with your target market, whether that be your employees, your investors, potential customers, or a global television and film audience. We get to know your company, your customers, your employees, your goals, and then we put together a detailed plan that maximizes what you do well and plans for improvement where you may need it. We weave together all the pieces of your story to provide consistency across marketing, communications, branding, ESG, and video storytelling. Reach out to us through our website, prcreativegroup.com. That's prcreativegroup.com, or call us at 832-553-6208. 832-553-6208. Reach out to us.
Let's welcome Marissa Garcia. Marissa is a mother whose son has gone through cancer treatment, and I want to start with the end in mind, and he's okay right now, right, Marissa? Let's tell the good news.
Yes, thank you. He is better than okay. He's doing great.
Well, let's tell people your interaction with Candlelighters, and also some of the story about how you found out about your son's condition and what went on after that.
So Candlelighters has, for me and my family, been the forefront, the organization who reached out to us, who in a time like that, you are in survival mode and your social worker is there to help you reach out to organizations, but Candlelighters was the first one to step up and contact us and just offer the support. And really, that's just what it was. Everything else came later, but the initial contact was very embracing, and to know that not only are they there to support you, but they're there to listen because they've gone through it. They, like Kelsey said, they have walked these shoes, and nothing you say is a surprise or isn't anything that is new to them. They understand it completely. So they are organization just very near and dear to our heart. Even our son, Christian, will say, "Oh, is it with Candlelighters?" And I say yes. Or if I mentioned that we're doing something with them, he lights up. And our other children too are known. They know Candlelighters to have the fun events, and that they are there, that they can join with us. They know that we'll all be together when it's something Candlelighters.
Well, I was thinking about this when Kelsey was talking, and she said that when the parent hears the word, your child has cancer. First of all, I'm a parent and a grandparent, but as a parent, grandparent, mother, father, you already have your plate full if everything's, quote, normal. Now, and quite frankly, we haven't had normal for a couple of years, so we're in new normals. But when we're going about raising our children, doing our jobs, all the things that we do as families and individuals, it's a big job. Now, you get those words, so all of a sudden, and we'll say you also have other children, so your plate, I would think, is full already. Tell people how that, Marissa, how that hit you. I mean, it had to be tough, but what was it like when you heard that news?
It's like a bomb. It's incomprehensible. You understand what they're saying in a sense of knowing what cancer is, and but it's incomprehensible that it's your child. Christian, in my perception, was there's these symptoms that lead up to it. There's the nausea, the pains, and And that's what I thought it looked like. But for Christian, we were at the beach one day. It was 2 weeks after he graduated kindergarten.
So everything's just normal. You're
Everything
at the
is
beach.
completely normal.
What are we going to have for lunch? Or lunch was great, whatever. What's for dinner?
A day at the beach. All of us have been there. And it wasn't until that evening he comes out of bed after we've already gotten home. And he's just moaning in pain. Oh. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I looked inside of his ear, seeing if maybe it could be red or something that stood out, and it didn't. So I thought maybe just because we're at the beach and some water. I told him to sleep it off, and then we'll check again in the morning. And sure enough, first thing in the morning, he's moaning in pain. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me ask some questions. What's going on here? Does it hurt inside or outside? He said outside. So that really piqued my concern, because why would your ear hurt outside? It's not water in their ear. It's not an ear infection. So when I looked closer and I really examined him, I've noticed a pretty medium-sized, large bump behind his left ear. And as you mentioned, I have several other children. We have 5 total. And between all of the children, my nieces and nephews, I've never seen anything like that before. So I immediately knew that was of a concern. Called the pediatrician. We got in the next day. She didn't know what it was. So to make it a long story a little shorter, it took a week to figure out what this was, only because after seeing the pediatrician twice, seeing an urgent care doctor, because within a matter of days, this bump grew larger. His face was swollen. His eye was swollen. And it was clear that the medication that they thought might help was not helping. This was not it. So we finally decided, let's go to the emergency room, get some scans done, see what this is. I never let my worry get ahead of me. It was just one thing at a time. Let's get the scans. I didn't even call my husband and tell him to meet us there, just because I thought, let's get the scans, let's get some medicine, let's go home and let this thing go away. Well, unfortunately, that was not the case, because it was a few hours after we got to the ER and the scans. There was a number of things that surfaced that weren't right. And all the doctors coming in to see him, all these things were just suspicious. But I, again, didn't let that worry get the best of me. It wasn't until the doctors pulled me out of the room and we walked to the waiting room, and it wasn't until they started situating our seating that I knew this was going to be a full-blown conversation. Something is
serious.
Wrong. It was serious, yeah, and I couldn't deny it anymore. And I really couldn't tell you what that conversation sounded like, because I just don't remember. All I do remember is them saying the bump behind his ear being a tumor, and they believe it to be cancer. And then, boom, the bomb explodes, because life as we knew it just never the same. And it took me a little while to regain my bearings, because it was just like, I told them, what are you even telling me right now? And they go on to tell me, I don't remember that part of the conversation either, but I do know after a few minutes, what seemed like forever, I guess, but 2 minutes go by, I just remember wiping my tears, taking a deep breath, and telling them, I need to call my husband, and I need y'all to go help my son. Because I just knew crying wasn't going to help. We'll deal with all that later. I just knew that my son needed some help. So she put her hand on my knee to kind of slow me down, I think, and wanted me to process what was being said. And she asked, like, what questions do you have? And again, I said, I need to call my husband, because I couldn't go any further alone, and I couldn't go any further without him knowing that this was going on. So she agreed. She steps out of the waiting room like out of a movie. I call my husband. He didn't answer. I'm pacing. I call him again. I call my mom, and she didn't answer. So it was like somebody come and save me. And finally he answered, and he was at work, and he, you're at work and you get this news, because I could not tell him. And because he had to pack our bags, and I told him we're not leaving. The doctor said we're not leaving, so pack us a few days worth. And he says that's when it hit him, knowing that we weren't coming home. And so it was just really hard from there. That day specifically was just hard mentally, physically, because I had my 5-year-old, and Christian at the time was 6. And this whole time they were okay. And things started getting scarier, because now testing and more doctors were coming in, and my daughter didn't want me to put her down. They're trying to do all these tests on my son, and he's crying. And so I'm like trying to juggle all 3 of our emotions, and it's hard. So it takes a lot out of you. It's depleting. So that was just the first day. And so from there, it's chaotic. Your other children are thrown to other relatives that are available. And like Kelsey had mentioned, it's the siblings, because of COVID, they're no longer allowed in the hospitals. So
this was going on during COVID?
This was, yes. We were already a year. He was diagnosed June 2021. So it had already been a year. So it wasn't as bad, but there were still many restrictions. And that was one of them but we were blessed that they lifted a restriction and allowed both parents to come in. Because I can't imagine the parents that had to go through that just alone, because their other spouse or the other parent wasn't allowed. So we were able to go in with both of us. He had both of us there. And so that made it a lot easier. And I said it from the beginning, I can't imagine the parents that had to go through this alone with their child. So because the tumor was growing so fast, they immediately started him on chemotherapy.
And this is that day? I mean, the day after. You didn't leave the hospital when you got this news.
We didn't. We were there for about 3 to 4 days, and then they released us for testing. They released us, and we were back in a matter of a day, and that's when we entered into MD Anderson.
So I've never been through this, and people listening, many have. But so there's a testing phase. First of all, there's the symptom, what happened that caused your alert, a testing phase, and then treatment, I'm guessing.
Correct. Yes. We were given the choice to stay at the hospital we were at for the ER or go to MD Anderson. And one of the oncologists there that specialized in this particular cancer, which is called rhabdomyosarcoma. It's a childhood cancer, which sounds completely awful, because it's like this cancer is found only in children. And for anything to be to that degree that's found only in children is completely horrific. But that's what it was. And after a week of the testing and then going to MD Anderson to start treatment, that is when more scans were done. And not only did he have a baseball-sized tumor in his neck, but it was revealed that the cancer was now in his whole body.
Oh, my gosh.
It was in his arms, legs, pelvis, bone marrow, his spine. And so they, at that point, declared it to be stage 4. So it's one thing to know you have this isolated tumor, but then it's a whole other, it's just a whole other dynamic when you know that the cancer has just invaded his whole body.
The timeline again, from that day at the beach where this came to your attention to where it's in his whole body, how many weeks?
We're talking 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
It was 1 week to actually get the scans and another week to actually get the full diagnosis.
And let's remind people, as I started out, he's okay right now.
He's okay right now.
My goodness. And that's a year down the road, pretty much, right? From when this started.
We are short, a month.
Here we are.
Next month will be in 2 weeks, it'll be a full year.
A full year.
Yes.
And
That's so fast moving. I mean, I guess that is to do with this specific cancer.
It's really because the tumor was growing so fast, they immediately started him on an aggressive chemotherapy. So it was about a 52-week plan, but they started at week 7 because that's the more intensive chemo, and we couldn't start it any, less aggressive or not as aggressive at that point. But Christian is, I wish he was here. He's just a whole spirit.
He has to be a tough guy.
He's tough. You know what I say? He's anointed. That kid is anointed. He started the chemotherapy in June, and September was the next set of scans because they do it every 3 months to see how his body is taking on the chemotherapy. And it was at that point when we were reviewing the scans that it was revealed that there was no more cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So when I tell you,
That's a miracle. Yeah, that's amazing.
It was a whirlwind of emotions to go from stage 4, full-blown cancer everywhere, to being completely healed in a matter of 2.5 months. It was a miracle. The oncologist put that in his summary, that he can't explain it any other way other than it being a miraculous response to therapy. And, that's something we prayed for, and we stood very strong on our faith that this would happen. But for it to be so soon, it was just, it's mind-blowing to us. And even now we look back like how blessed we are that he's blessed to have gone through this. And because this particular cancer likes to hide and kind of stay dormant, they wanted to make sure he continued his treatment process. So we were doing our due diligence and not allowing this cancer to come back. He went through 6 weeks of proton radiation therapy, completed his treatment. So the whole gauntlet we were still going through the whole process. And although the cancer was gone, it was still tough knowing you're putting these toxins, this medication into his healthy body. And so that was really tough in itself to continue. But at the end of the day, we had to come to the conclusion that we have to do whatever we can. So there's no regrets later. And he had the best oncology team, medical team that we could have ever asked for at MD Anderson to help us through it. And because it doesn't get any easier. What gets easier is the support that we lean on, the people that are there to help guide us, support us, give us the resources. Because without them, you completely feel isolated. I think one of you said that word earlier, and alone. But when they step up and they're there to help, you realize that you're not.
If there's someone out there that may be a family, a mother, a father that just got this news, what would you tell them that you know now, a year later? What encouragement would you give someone or advice?
It would be to stand strong in their faith. If they don't, gather people who do have faith and allow them to help you build yours. The trust that we had in God to get us through this was the first thing that is what got us through this. So I would say a lot of people tend to be private about these things, and I can see why. But I would definitely give the advice to parents to gather as many people that they know to pray, to give you thoughts, in their prayers and positivity, and just know that that they're lifting you up, because you need all of that. I wouldn't say to keep this private. I immediately took it to social media and said, I need prayer. And if you don't know how to pray, this is what I need you to say, because people don't know what to say. And that's okay. They don't necessarily have to. If you can give them the words to say, like, this is what you need, just keep us in your thoughts and prayers, and that be in a positive light, that can carry you a long way. So those would be the first two things: to just keep your eyes on your faith, to allow people in to help you, to support you, because they do. Some people need to be told on how to do that, and that's okay. You can tell them, you can be honest and say, this is what you need. Either you need, meals, you need somebody to help with your other kids, you need your house cleaned. People will step up and help you do those things, because they feel like it's the least that they can do, especially if it's not necessarily monetary. Those would definitely be the first two things. And one for sure, speaking directly for the child, is to talk it through with them. Not every child is going to be able to comprehend. Our 6-year-old will comprehend more than a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old. However, we found that it was very beneficial to all of us the more transparent and honest we were with our son, that this is what was going to happen. And it was terrifying for him, and it was really hard that he was already crying before we had to go to the hospital. I mean, the day before, we would tell him we're going to the hospital tomorrow, and he would freak out. I'm like, it's okay right now, just I'm letting you know. And then that morning we would tell him, and he would freak out, and we'd finally get to the hospital, and he wouldn't want to get out of the car. So it's really baby steps, and it's really allowing them to understand what is about to happen. So they're aware, even though they may fight or cry, they're still aware that this is what we're going to have to do. And you know, as much as they can be strong about it, you have to be strong, and you kind of just feed each other that strength. And for us, Christian was able to comprehend that. And like I said, it was really just beneficial knowing that he knew what was going on, and he wasn't in the dark about it. It wasn't a surprise. So those are the three things that I would definitely suggest and advise any parent that has to ever go through this. And I pray, obviously, that nobody else is affected. I do live in reality and know that it is what it is, unfortunately, but you have people there to help.
Well, it sounds like that's good advice. You need that medical team, but you need that personal team as well, right, Jenna?
Yeah, exactly. And then, I know you talked about it a little at the beginning, but how the Candlelighters team, having moms who had gone through this exact journey before, how does that help just with the emotional support, but also, the financial support? People think of parking and they're like, that's no big deal. And it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And they're ruthless. I forgot. I left my purse with my son because I was going to get the car and go pick him up after anesthesia or something. And I called the garage. I'm like, I don't have my wallet. I'm sorry. And I was hoping for a pass. And I didn't get it. They were like, no, somebody will be there to give you an invoice for you to pay it later. So there's no freebies. It is ruthless. You're going to pay for that $15 or however much it's going to be. But Candlelighters, in every aspect, yes, the support, the resources, the finances, the events, it is all just tied so perfectly and so very well thought out. She said 29 years, and you can imagine how much they have learned from each family in 29 years, and they put it all together to provide these resources that have covered every base. Things you wouldn't even think of, they've already thought of. So when you come together with other people who have gone through this, and you go to these events and you just live life the best that you can with these particular people that have walked through it, there's a sense of it's a family. it's just really, you've never met these people, but you're automatically family. And it's just beautiful to be part of that, regardless of the situation and the circumstances. It's still very beautiful.
Well, I would think your son's listening, and from us, all of us here, and Jenna, we're so glad that he's fine now and he can go about, quote, normal life, right? If he were here, I mean, he's not here, but if he were here today right now in the studio, what do you think he would say about his experience in, a sentence or two?
I would think he would say it was tough.
Yeah.
That it was tough. And he knows what strength and bravery looks like. And I think he would say that that's what it takes to beat this. And whichever way it goes, if you have that, I believe he would just say it with a smile, like to be brave, to be strong, and that God is good.
Even if this didn't happen, but because this happened, I bet he would say in a more emphasized, embellished way how he felt love in a way that he never did prior. And I'm sure he had plenty of love in your family.
Oh, yes.
I'm just guessing. But here to see, I'm sure even as a young man at 6, 7 years old, that he all of a sudden noticed things that he didn't notice before, seeing people spring and team up together to help him. I bet that is a good feeling that he'll have the rest of his life, I'm guessing.
Oh, yes. Yes. We definitely acknowledge all the blessings, and we tell him that these people are praying, and this gift is from this person, and let's thank them. And he's very aware of the help and the support that he's received, and that's all that I ask, is he always carry those people in his heart, and to acknowledge and know faces and names. It's kind of something we struggled with at the hospital. There's so many nurses, and they're all behind
and they had masks on too. So
Yes.
Who are you?
Right. So I'm like, just remember these eyes, and
Yeah.
this is nurse so and so, and because yes, he definitely feels loved. He feels it.
Awesome.
Well, Christian, as you're listening to your mom on the show, all the best to you. Stay strong. You're an example for me. I haven't met you, but anytime I go through something tough, I'm going to remember your son. Thank you so much, Marissa Garcia. And thank you, Jenna.
Yeah.
That's
you.
awesome.
It's awesome. Amazing. Thank you, ladies, for being willing to be here and share your story, Marissa, and Candlelighters. And I hope it's a resource to people listening.
Again,
I know it will be.
Candle.org. If you need some help, candle.org.
At P&R Creative, your story is our motivation. We want to tell your story in a way that resonates with your target market, whether that be your employees, your investors, potential customers, or a global television and film audience. We get to know your company, your customers, your employees, your goals, and then we put together a detailed plan that maximizes what you do well and plans for improvement where you may need it. We weave together all the pieces of your story to provide consistency across marketing, communications, branding, ESG, and video storytelling. Reach out to us through our website, prcreativegroup.com. That's prcreativegroup.com, or call us at 832-553-6208. 832-553-6208. Reach out to us.
Jenna Jackson, P&R Creative. Jenna, let's tell people a little bit about your company and what you do and how you're helping people.
Sure. Well, one of the things that we do, sort of tied to today's show, is we do a lot of video production that tell people's stories, including nonprofits. And we've done Candlelighters videos for years and years because they've got such incredible stories.
You know everybody in this city. The more I'm around you. And I want to say,
try, Bill.
But wait a second, to interrupt you, or not to interrupt you, but I guess I am interrupting. What I'm going to say this: you have connections all over the broadcasting world. The other night, the last time you were on the show, you texted me. You are on CBS, the whole show, with a murder investigation, and I'm like, man, why are you even doing my little radio show? But there you are, right there on the big screen, one of the top 3 networks. Let's tell people just a quick word about what you're doing with CBS.
That was awesome. We've been following a criminal case based here in Houston and Dallas for years and years. And so we did a 2-part special with CBS where I worked for 15 years back in my 20s. to 30s. And it was incredible. It was a special 2-part 48 hours. And I think we had 5 million plus viewers. It was amazing. And
I was one of them, yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
And I was texting my friend saying, look, here's Jenna on the show.
Thank you so much for watching. Every one of those helps. So it's a good thing. But we're looking at doing more with CBS. So that's fun. That's a fun part of our business. We're really just all about storytelling. What's your story? How can we tell it? Whether it's video, whether it's, photographs, whether it's your ESG report, whether it's social media. It's really you or your company or a story, no matter what it's about. Let us help you tell it.
And you're helping people outside of Houston, too. Certainly here in the Houston community, you're connected very well and helping people, but also your reach goes beyond the Houston, Texas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do projects all over the world. Our crews have been to Europe and obviously New York, LA. We spend a lot of time there. All over the country, we're helping companies based everywhere and telling people's stories, no matter where they are.
The website is
www.prcreativegroup.com. prcreativegroup.com.
Someone's listening out there and they need your help. They can go to the website and give you a call and look at the menu of how you can be of service.
Exactly. Our number's on there. Our email's on there. We're on social media, PR Creative TX as well. So get in touch. We can help you tell your story.
And I know one of the other viewers on the CBS show was Dan Rather, because you're his buddy, right?
Yes. He is
awesome.
Wonderful. He's my mentor.
Broadcasting legend, that guy, huh?
Yeah, he's incredible. Not even close to the same space.
Next time you come on the show, maybe he can call in. Just saying, I want to plant the seed.
I might be able to get him. I don't know.
And as we wind up the show, Kelsey Tarpinian, Candlelighters, candle.org. What else should we know before we close things down?
Bill. I just want to say thank you to Marissa for coming on with us today. She is one of over 4,000 families that we currently support each year. And, that was honestly the first time I got to hear her and Christian's entire story. We met last September, I think we just discussed. And like she said, he was on treatment actively in the thick of it and walked into our office with just a giant smile on his face. So I'm honored to get to help families like hers every single day.
And I want to say a word too. Your strength, Marissa, and your sons, but also in your family, your husband and the other children. It was not easy for anybody, but it's a great example of teamwork, love, and how you all came together. I'm sure that was part of the miraculous cure of your son's cancer. Not just the medicine, but the emotional medicine and that love medicine, we'll call it.
Yes, it counts and it matters. That is definitely what carried us through, was the love, was the support, was just everybody pulling through as if Christian were their own child. That's how we felt, how loved he was and how loved we were and are.
That's it. I mean,
your website again is
prcreativegroup.com, and then Candlelighters is candle.org. So please look them up.
Sounds good to me. Thank you all for listening to Successful Living with Bill Napick. And today, a very special edition, Successful Living with Jenna Jackson, our show partner. I can't wait to see what you have next, Jenna, coming up. But thank you all again for listening. You can go to radiobill.net to find out more about past shows or anything else. radiobill.net. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.